This is the Ghetto Free Press. Today is September the 29th, 2013, and of course this month as well as this year is coming to an end. I'm here with Doc Robinson. I had something strange to happen at the airport this morning, but you will see that on the next video, so we're not going to get into that. Doc, what's on your mind today, thinking about the situation of what happened in Brooks County with the mistrial of the Equipment 10+2 and looking over the broad picture? You made a statement in front of the courthouse Friday that in spite of the mistrial, you said that Lowndes County and Valdosta need to look out. What's on your mind this morning, my brother?
Man, number one, hello everybody. We had a phenomenal week this week, and Equipment 10, they got justice as far as what the jury made the decision to do, and that was a very unique decision he made, and it was a very careful decision. It wasn't one that he just rendered and rushed to. The state didn't have nothing that they could bring really. Everything they brought was a C.B. King shot holes in it, and they got a very unique set of attorneys.
Yes, sir.
And I believe that they're going to be renowned in this area. Yeah, I made a statement about Valdosta, okay? Something was very wrong here in this city, and something is still wrong in Lowndes County. Ever since Andrew Jackson, something has been wrong here, okay? Ever since that Coffee Made Coffee Road that led all the way to, I think it was Thomasville in Jacksonville.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And ever since Simon Hall and all of them come here, I'm talking about 1821, all the way down through the terms of history for the 160 years or 59 years or 55 years, or however old the city is, how one-sided have been for all of those years. Yes, we have something in store, and it's not a secret. They already know it's ongoing right now. See, when something is operating according to the way that it's supposed to, we'll use an engine for an example. When you turn the key and the electrical spark make it through the distributor, and the distributor rotate and strike on piston number 1 that fires, and the gasoline and the timing and everything is just right, it fires that engine, and therefore the premature small explosions began to combust in every cylinder, and when this one is blown down, the other one is blown to the surface, and they call that top dead center. So when this type thing occur, they call that operating efficiently. Okay. Now whenever the timing get off and the engine start running real sluggish and the car began to shake, and you can say it's something wrong, maybe it's my gasoline, it's running inefficient. Okay. Now, Valdosta has been a city that's been running efficient on one side and inefficient on the other. So we're going to be talking about economic inefficiency when it comes down to Valdosta. That it's been operating on an inefficient manner on in the black communities in the integrated segregated areas. I know what I said. I said integrated segregated areas. These are the areas that white folks live in as well as black folks. That means that it's integrated. And Hispanics, that means it's integrated. But what I mean by segregated is when one is screened out because of the race and the base of its color or its national origin. That's called integrated segregation. So therefore, we are suffering from that. And we have been locked in with a mind frame ever since slavery that we are not to have anything. We're supposed to stay on the ignorant side. Now that we have evolved and evolutionary traits of higher learning and educational standards have been achieved by us, and it's time for us to fit in, we still yet find ourselves severely excluded. So, you know, we are going to take these necessary steps because we have become educated, because we have evolved, and we no longer believe that we shouldn't have anything. We want our share of this economic pie, and we are going to get our share of this economic pie. You know, and this city is going to operate the way it should. The number one thing we want to make sure that everybody understands, we want to start at the highest levels of government here in our city. We want to get rid of the city manager, and that's not.
You mean Larry Hanson?
Yes, city manager. Whoever the city manager is.
Okay.
Because that's who run things here in this county, and it's not a secret about that. And I know when we sit down and talk, they're gonna be heard these words that I'm saying that we want to get rid of you and we want to get rid of the city manager. But that's all said and done because it's part of the facts of reality. Now, if you can operate the way you're supposed to, we want you to remain and stay in your position. But if you're going to continue to operate on the same old terms and basis, of course we do not want you in those positions. Because see, when I go down and see a franchise and guy on McDonald's, Burger King, that's a franchise. That means you can own the franchise even though it's McDonald's.
Right.
You can own the Walmart even though it's Walmart. So when you go down to the bank and you says to a banker, you says, look, I want to start me a business. He says, well, let us check your credit references. So when they check your credit references, and your credit might be less than a 600. And I think that's the city market, it's at least 600. It's less than 600. Then if it's a little above 600, they'll find some flaw that they can't allow you to get a substantial amount that could cause you to have a little bit of capital that you can operate. So therefore that handicaps you as far as to be economically efficient to operate a business. Okay. Now, we have found that in the analysis of impediments that we're going to be basing this off of, we're not going to base this off of things that we are thinking. We're going to base this off of facts, of things that have been analyzed and analytically proven by the United States federal government that is evidence of redlining in the city from the banks. Each bank has a community obligation, and that obligation is that it is to reimburse in its local community. I think, I forgot what the name they call that. It's an act. Okay? It's an act. I don't know if it's the Reinvestment Act. I think it's something like that.
It sounds good.
Something like that, right?
Yeah, good.
You know, and what I have to I don't want to interrupt this in the middle of this, but you know, we got to have economic redemption. We got to be redeemed, not by Jesus, you know. And I'm a minister, you know, at First Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, and I'm not saying that, you know, I'll probably get ridiculed for saying this, not by my pastor, but by others. My pastor, he understands where I'm coming from. Well, some others might say is that, you know, salvation is the first thing. Of course, this is what they all understand, because during those years in 1862, you had to be ignorant, okay? And you had to believe those facts in order, I'm taking my time to say this, in order for you to be a sustaining, to remain alive Negro, okay? You had to believe that you had to have this Jesus as the term of their mythology, as a forgiveness clause, because they were using it for act of forgiveness for themselves, for all the evil they had induced upon the black man. And they wanted the black man to have the same forgiveness for him for inducing this upon him. So, therefore, now we is living by the trait of the holy scenario. But the holy scenario now, to all those who believe in God, is the religious aspect of the Holy Ghost that let you read between the lines of what man done and what God intended to be. Okay, He didn't never intend for us to be ignorant to the fact that we got to believe a great evil was to be imposed upon us. Okay, that we were supposed to believe this is how it's supposed to be. You have the right to own a McDonald's. You have the right to own a Burger King. You have the right, because you're a tax-paying citizen, to go down to the bank, and he has the right as a Reinvestment Act to work with you and to negotiate with you. But he don't negotiate with you like he do his counterparty. Now, they'll say we play the race card.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all the way to the degree that they want to bar you off of school campus.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because you got close to something that's revealing.
The KJ.
Okay? You know, that's right. You know who?
KJ did.
Okay, so now, everything else that they plot to do is based upon a good old boy system that have been locked in here ever since 1821. Okay, so you have to do the history and the research. Now, when you do the history and research, don't just do the history and research based upon what I'm saying. Base it upon history itself and find out what really occurred during those years that led to these years. It was 100 years from 1865 to 1965 that you was free, yet was denied the right to vote. Been 48, maybe going on 50 years, half a century now, that you still fighting for justice and equality.
And the right to vote.
Yeah, and the right to vote. You see, that's what this case was about. Okay. Now, you know, in Quitman, what happened is that this is the very first time that blacks dominated the school board.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very first time. And they did not like that.
And that's a historical fact.
You see, and we didn't have no news coverage other than Brother Roy's Boston Rhymes here. And it's pathetic to what we find. I don't want to get too far away from the issue that I was discussing, but
Yes,
all
sir.
this is part of that.
Yes, sir.
And want you guys to understand, I'm here in my backyard, and I'm standing here because I sued a guy by the name of George P. Calkins, Henry Ford's son-in-law, Eleanor Ford's husband, the one being the Fortune 500 all the time, best friend of old man President Bush. And they used that against me in the case. And they used those powers. And they used the private citizen used the power of the chair against a little guy like myself. A black attorney by the name of, federal attorney by the name of Jim Keeney, he first filed my litigation to Washington. It came back denied. So when it come back, he sent it back again. And when it went back this time, it went to another department, and they certified that I had the right to sue in the United States Federal Court and the High Courts. The only thing between me and the Supreme Court was the House of Appeals, okay? I'm in the Banner Hall of Justice as far as the New York Law Institute. You can look that up. I'm amongst the 4 references cases that's used nationwide. It's called John H. Robinson versus Calkins Indiantown Citrus Company. Now,
repeat that once again.
John H. Robinson, R-O-B-I-N-S-O-N, versus Calkins, C-A-L-U-K-I-N-S, Indiantown Citrus Company. And if you pull that up, you Google that, and you'll find everything that I'm discussing here. And you'll find that I'm in the Library of Congress. I don't utilize that down here, and I don't step out on that, but I am that person.
What the law firm, if you don't mind, you may not want to reveal.
Oh yeah, I definitely want everybody to know.
Okay.
It's Dennis Scursey, Scorola Bernhardt. It was Bernhardt and Chipley at the time, and Montgomery Latter. But now I think it's Dennis Scursey and Scorola, I believe it is now.
Is that law firm still in business?
The law firm is still active. They is one of the richest law firms in this whole state of Florida. We're out of West Palm Beach, Florida, and they are out of Tallahassee. Their phone number is 561, I believe. It's 561-686-6300. That's their number if you need them. A federal judge who is now sitting in the 5th District of the United States Federal Courts in the 5th District of Florida. His name is Moses Baker. He was one of my attorneys. And you see, his name was Moses Baker. In the middle of my storm, God sent me on Moses, and he delivered us.
Do you still have contact with him?
Oh yes, I talk to Mr. Baker from time to time, and I talk to these attorneys from time to time about these people up here, okay? And not that they have no repercussions, but if they are needed, and if I do need them here for litigation, they will be on board with us. I'm going to be working with Mr. C.B. King and the rest of them, and we will put together a super team, and we will be able to match anybody, dollar for dollar, buck for buck. And she's about, see, the power on this planet, okay? Believe it or not, the power is the money.
Yes, sir.
Okay? You want to know why the Pope got so much power? Because of the gold of the Vatican and their money. Okay? See, when
take that from him, he's useless and irrelevant.
He's irrelevant.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Now, you take us for an example here in this nation. The reason we have such a hard time is because the lack of the money. See, this, you know, I hope someone out there would do this. It's the I, John Robinson, a citizen of the United States of America. You see, reside in Lake Park, Georgia, at 3227 San Julien Circle. Duly hereby appeal to the Congress of the United States of America and to the United States Senate and the House of Representatives for the retained wages by fortune from the assets obtained by the predecessor that inherited this realm of wealth from unpaid labor. Okay? This empire that you see built out here. All when you ride down through Miami and you see the high rise. When you ride through the city of Jacksonville, Florida, and you see the skyscraper. When you go all downtown New York City and you be amongst the man-made mountains. All of this, when you ride through these great fortresses of farms and country land. See, I lay claim of the fortune of the term slave labor. Net, not yet, net, not unpaid, not paid. Do hereby ask the Congress and others to print or release payment of my grandfather family contributions to this great nation. No, they discussed 20 acres, 40 acres on a mule. They the ones discussed 40 acres on a mule. I'm just a citizen, and I hope everybody will do this. I want that payment to be made. It can be made in the method of a federal bank. See, because I know they would say it's absurd to believe you can give every family, and what remedy and formula can they come up with to make such disbursement? It would literally break this country. But if it's put into a federal bank that's owned and operated by the United States federal government and part of the private sector, such as black minority business-owned businesses, for the capital and bonding purposes, for major construction, for educating business people. Don't build no house out of it. Don't have no individual homes built out of it. But focus on single dwellings as for but the construction of that private home, the construction of that one individual house, a loan that would build that unit from its infrastructure in completing, including water systems, lift stations, drainage structures, and underground facilities. This is to promote economic growth in the slum areas of our nation. Give us what we'll do, funding resources for the first time in the history of the nation, with no red tape, knowing slavery left us empty. See, slavery left us empty and excluded from all respects, empty hearts, empty minds, and empty pockets. Now that we have arrived and evolved the evolutionary stage of education in every field, now we need balance of equilibrium, economic justice, and economic edge that can blanket the harsh hardships of trying to complete something for a gain without capital to purchase. See, this is the problem that we have, that I appeal to the Congress of the United States of America. I know that I'm just a voice in the wilderness, crying out for justice for that lost wage that my great-great-grandfather worked for, that my great-grandmother was hanged for, that my great-auntie was raped by. This big fortune that see, I want to be able to go down to the bank, and to this particular bank, and says, you know, I want to be taken like you gave it to the Japanese, you gave it to the Indian. Why come you can't just give us something that we could utilize? We don't have anything, never have had anything. Only thing we had was a network put together by the good old boys, and they operated from that degree of a southern mentality and a northern mentality. I know you want me to say something good about the North. Only thing I can say good about the North is that they got enviness in their heart against one another, because during the winter, during the harshness of the winters, is the only reason they didn't obtain their slaves. They couldn't sustain them because they had slaves in the North as well as they had in the South, but the hardship of the 5-month winter, that they could not afford to feed them, so they let them come to the South, and they sold them to the South. Then after they seen the South began to get on their feet, they got jealous of one another, and they began to put laws together to refrain from slavery, that they counterpart of their buddy couldn't become so much wealthier than him. So he outlawed slavery, and therefore he began to have 3 or 4 slave raising states to supply them. They had ships from the North that went out and spent $3-4 million investment and made a $17 million profit from the slaves that they furnished to the South. Yes, we're going to talk for real here today. Mr. Congress and all you congressmen and ladies and gentlemen, you know, I hope that somebody in legislation would hear this video. I pray that somebody can understand what I'm saying. Maybe I'm still ignorant, because, you know, after all, they wanted us to stay ignorant so that we couldn't believe of the evil that was done upon us without believing in this Christian Jesus that come along and said he wanted to forgive himself, and he wanted me to be able to forgive him down through years to come. But some of us have evolved. We have arrived in our minds. And we are no longer going to tolerate. We want to take your own rule and your own law. That's what you was afraid we were going to find out. That we can defeat you within the law without its binds. Yes, Martin marched because Martin knew he was surrounded by cowards. He knew that they knew. They said that a slave never rebelled against slavery until Nat Turner came. When Nat Turner came, they said, we can't sleep at night for years, afraid of being burnt to a crisp on a crust before daylight in the morning. And they said that they believed that out of these people, another Nat Turner was going to arrive someday. Perhaps he will. Perhaps he will. Especially, he knows that he's entitled to economic redemption. I plead this day on behalf of all of us and all of those. I'm not talking about the ones that sit back and that want to ridicule me and say, oh, he's a minister. Yes, I am a minister. I didn't say I was a pastor. I said I'm a minister. Jesus said he was a minister. Okay? He didn't say he was no pastor. But he spoke to the pastors. So I'm going to speak to you ones out there now. You may ridicule me, but I'm doing it for you too. And you know in the backhand, in your head, in your mind, you're so glad that I'm doing it because you don't have the guts to do it. But that's okay. You don't have to have the guts to do it. You had it not, but I had it for you. I'll do it for you and some others just like us. It's more than just me. There's a whole lot of us think like this. A whole lot of us think this way. And we want ours. And guess what? We're going to demand for it. And we want the Congress and the United States Senate, like everything our president do. What his name? Boehner.
Boehner, yes.
Boehner gets up. He's a racist. Yeah,
What'd you say?
Boehner's a racist. Yeah, what else can he be? He in opposition to everything this poor black man say, knowing this is the first black president ever been in the United States history. So he's showing the leading rebellion, and he divided the whole House based upon split, not only the decisions Obama is making, but the decisions based upon the economic imbalance and the echoes of the past.
Don.
Yes.
But he professed to be a patriot and a Christian.
That's the point. The Christian professed to be a Christian.
That's the problem.
The problem is that he was a Christian when he was cutting the legs off. And he said, Lord, forgive you 77 times a day. So cut his leg off, I'm forgiven.
So you can do what you want under Christianity then?
Of course you can.
As long as you pray and ask forgiveness.
As long as you don't blaspheme against the Holy Ghost and not kill yourself. I speak against blasphemy against God. Everything else is a forgiveness clause for. Everything else is a forgiveness clause for. But now you have to be forgiven. You got to be always forgiven. You got to tote your good book under your arm, and you got to be classified as a good black man. You got to know what church you belong to. If you don't belong to a church, they automatically look at you. Automatically, because this is part of the heritage. But see, guess what? Guess what? I stepped outside of the box. That's the problem. And can come back into the block anytime I feel like, and step back out of the block anytime I want to. Step in and out, and ain't nothing you can do about it. If you kill me, so what? I got to die of something. I'm on death row right now, esophageal cancer. I was diagnosed with malignant terminal cancer. So what's the big deal? Got to die of something. That's right. I always say, doing others you have, doing for you. Moses said, I'll put down a tooth for a tooth. I said, judge it for yourself. That's what I say.
Doc, let me ask you another question. It kind of changed subject a little bit, but not really changing it. I'm sure that everybody on YouTube who listened to this beautiful brother, you're probably wondering how did he get the insight that he got. You're probably wondering how did he step outside the box, and yet he can come back into the box. No matter what you say, no matter how you condemn him, his message remained the same. Doc, how is it that you can get all of this? Is it because of what you went through? What gives you this knowledge? Some kind of puff from the beyond to make you get this understanding that we close this out? What make you different, and what make you may see things different from some of the other followers of Jesus Christ? What make you different?
My friend, let me explain this. See, when I was the regular, normal, patriotic American, true-born man of good repute, I believed in the American system, so I worked with George P. Calkins in Indiantown, Florida. And one day, suddenly, I became a smart nigger. That's right.
Watch it, watch it.
No. Now,
but tell it then.
This is what they said I became. He became a smart nigger. And you know what? Ain't no niggas gonna run nothing for us. And I had made it into supervision, but I could get a time card, punch on the time clock, but I couldn't get salary because they said wasn't no niggas gonna sit amongst them. And
Let's cut this, Doc. Let's go to part 2. Cut right here.